All-In SEO has been around since 2007. It's one of the very earliest SEO plugins for WordPress. We acquired it in 2020. When I began to look at the code, it was very early on in that process where I figured in order for us to scale this and to grow this product, we have to start over. Every single line of code is new. Within just a couple of weeks, we had a very, very stable product. We launched the new website November 14 of 2020, and then we launched the new plugin version 4.0 in December.
Where are things at now as a result of this?
Went from the 2 million plus to 3 million plus. Was an awesome day.
What's the biggest thing that you guys did since you jumped in with All-In-One SEO?
Yeah, that's a great question. Something I haven't dug massively into, but I would say...
All right, welcome back to the Niche Pursuits podcast. My name is Jared Bauman, and today we are joined by Ben Rojas. Ben, welcome.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here, Jared.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. I know that every once in a while, schedules get in the way. We had to reschedule this one, so it's been a little while coming. I'm excited to have you on, and much anticipated from going back and forth and creating the agenda for today. So welcome on board. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been a listener, and I'm excited to kind of jump on and share whatever it is you want me to share. So,
well, I'll start by giving people some background. We always like to kind of hear the backstory, basically kind of what arrived you here today, whatever you think is relevant. I mean, maybe give us a couple minutes, and then we'll dive into. I think we're going to touch on a bunch of different topics today, but certainly your experience levels are gonna yield a lot of good things for people today.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I've kind of been a kind of computer nerd all my life. Like I wrote my first website at 13 years old, like by hand on a piece of notepaper, got books from the library, all that kind of stuff. So I've been very heavily involved in IT and web development since a very early age. I went into IT directly out of high school and kind of worked as like desktop support and things like that for a long time. That was kind of my niche, so to speak. And then, got involved with a nonprofit and they needed a website. So I started like figuring out how does Word, that's when I kind of stumbled on WordPress and figured out how to build a site with WordPress. And then I got married and needed to make more income and decided to move out. So I actually got a support job at a WordPress e-commerce company called Cart66. It's one of the old ones that was around back in the day. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but
I have, which dates.
Yeah. Yes. So it's been around for a long time, and I knew development. Like I said, I had been a part of building websites and things for years, but WordPress development was kind of new to me. So in that job, I kind of learned a lot about what it means to develop inside of the WordPress ecosystem. And so I was mainly support there, but started doing development, and then I began through that met some people in the WordPress space, and I began building payment gateways for EDD. Easy Digital Downloads. Pippin was just going to launch it, and I met him, and so we started kind of a collaboration. I built like half dozen payment gateways for him,
nice.
But mostly focused on the PayPal ones because there was like PayPal Adaptive Payments, PayPal Express, PayPal Pro, like all of the different ones that you could do. And then after that point, I kind of got out of the WordPress space for a little while. Again, it was an income thing, needed a growing family, needed to find a better paying job. So went to work for kind of a customer success company outside of that. They still use WordPress a little bit, but it was mainly not. And so, but there I kind of really built my depth as far as like development and product development. And that was related to, learning MySQL and more PHP and all of this stuff, like really outside of the WordPress space. I feel like that really set me apart in a sense. Cause I'm sure you've heard there are WordPress developers and there are PHP developers. You feel like there's different versions of that. And so I feel like that really leveled me out a lot. And then around that time, I kind of reconnected with people in the WordPress space, and about 8 years ago, started working for Automotive. So, and I came on and started working for Envira Gallery at the beginning, and then moved to OptinMonster relatively quickly in that process. And I was there for a few years, about three and a half years or so. And then at that point, that was when the acquisition for All-In-One SEO happened, and I transitioned to leading that team and growing it. So that's kind of my tech background, but it's been an exciting and fun journey. Like I really love the WordPress space and being a part of the community. So.
Today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
This is how we landed massive links for our client in The Sun, a DR90 website, and many other UK news websites. We have used freely available data from YouGov to simply find out what the nation's favorite car brand is and which brands people love the most. Of course, Rolls-Royce came out on top, Aston Martin second, and Jaguar third. We put these insights in a short email and sent it to journalists that write about cars and to national news desks on behalf of our client. Within a few days, our client got featured in all the Suns, as well as many regional newspaper sites in the UK, gaining DR90 links to their leasing comparison website. YouGov website is full of unlimited PR stories with data already available for free. All you have to do is to start researching their data and start asking the data questions. You will be surprised of the unlimited PR campaigns that you will find there that can help you build massive exposure and links to your or your clients' websites. I hope this video is helpful and inspirational.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now. You have a WordPress background, clearly, like you kind of outlined all the different ways you've played a part in WordPress almost serendipitously over the years, but not a big SEO background. And forgive me if I'm maybe overreaching there, but from what you're saying, it doesn't sound like you have a big SEO background. You ended up in All-In-One-SEO, which a lot of people who are listening will be familiar with, will have heard of.
Yep.
I mean, talk about your role there, what you did there, and then I'm curious to hear some of the things from a high level you observed getting into the SEO space when you come from more of a WordPress development space.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a keen observation. And, being in web development, there is a fundamentals of SEO that you kind of understand and know. And so there was a little bit of that for me as well throughout the years. In fact, there were some times briefly throughout that I did some freelancing and helped people with websites and did some SEO for them and things like that. But kind of when the All-In-One-SEO acquisition happened and I transitioned to that, it was kind of like, drinking from the fire hose, like learning SEO, like to go to the next level, to level up, to really move into to becoming an expert in this field. And so that obviously that took some time. I mean, it's been 4 years or so now since that happened. And I feel like I've come, when I look back on that, I thought I had a good understanding of SEO. And then I kind of jumped into this with both feet and was like, wow, yeah, I'm learning so much about this process. And it's been a fun journey. And I like, one of the things that excites me the most is how we've seen our customers who are their lives are changed in a way. Like, they start using your product and they start ranking more, and the excitement of that, seeing those tangible results. In development, I mean, it's a lot of times you just pushing out code, checking boxes, and you move on. And so when you're doing thing that kind of a mystery, there's a mystery behind it. There's a magic, so to speak, where you're figuring things out. That is exciting for me, and to be able to see that. So I love, like, my journey definitely was very heavily product focused and not a lot in that SEO space. But since that 4-year marks, when the acquisition happened and I began to like, this is my day job now. This is what I'm doing. I'm learning SEO. I'm understanding it and trying to get to that higher level. I've just loved every minute of it. It's been a great journey.
I'm tempted to ask you all sorts of SEO related questions from the plugin. Maybe we'll come back to that, because I know that you and I were talking about some cool case studies you have, and we can get to that later. I do want to hear, though, and I'm taking it more from maybe like call it a SaaS product, or from basically the growth of that all-in-one SEO business. I mean, what were your roles in that? And just talk through the growth strategy and how you guys have come along, at least in the last 4 years that you've been involved.
Sure. It might make sense to give kind of a brief history of the plugin, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because that kind of sets the stage for like what we've done with it. But it's, All-In SEO has been around since 2007. It's, if not the original, it's one of the very earliest SEO plugins for WordPress. As far as I can tell, it is the original one. And it was basically just meta titles and descriptions, right? Very basic technical SEO stuff. And Michael Torbert is the one who kind of grew the product, and that's who we acquired it from. He launched a pro version in like 2009, and he grew it to that. He actually grew it to 3 million users, but then it kind of, with the advent of other plugins in the space, it definitely took a backseat, and it kind of went back down to under the 2 million mark. But when we acquired it, I mean, we acquired it in 2020. There were so many years of layers of technical debt, if you will, in that product.
Yeah.
And so when I began to look at the code and it was very early on in that process where I figured, in order for us to scale this and to grow this product, we have to start over, essentially. And so, one of the very first things we did is decide to rewrite the plugin from the ground up. Like, every single line of code is new. And that took time. So in the middle of that process, we relaunched our website. It was originally being hosted on a website called semperplugins.com. That was Michael's brand. And it had multiple products for sale. So there was a map plugin and a mail plugin of some sort, but they were very minor. They weren't, didn't have a lot of sales or anything like that. All-In-SEO was obviously the big ticket. So we rebranded to AIOSEO.com, and we spent a lot of time, building out that website and transitioning, but while still selling the same product. It was the same, we released a 3.4 with some added features and things like that, but it was very much the same line of product. But then through that, me and the only other dev we had at the time, because we, at that time it was very small. We had 3 people total, 1 on support, 2 on dev. And so we then created an architecture that could scale, and we rebuilt that product from the ground up. And it was mainly feature parity, right? Like, what's in there now, we're going to transition over into this new 4.0 product that we were going to launch. And so that took 11 months. It was, I believe, December. We launched the new website November 14 of 2020, and then we launched the new plugin version 4.0 in December of that year. And it wasn't the prettiest thing. We learned a lesson that launching around the holidays is probably not the best idea, and so we've learned that for something that major of an update. But we quickly iterated and worked through as much as we could with our customers to try and fix any issues that had come up. With at that point 2 million installs, it's really hard to test every environment and make sure that all of the changes you made are going to basically upgrade perfectly. And so we definitely had issues that we had to resolve, but we did that as quickly as we could. And I think within just a couple of weeks, we had a very, very stable product, and one that we were proud of at that point. And it's a stressful time, but so that's kind of like the fundamental thing that we did when we acquired is we said, before we can really grow, we have to rebuild this in order to be able to scale. And that's the primary thing, is rebuilding the product in a way that we can then bolt on new features and add new things to it. Even to the point of adding SaaSified things to it, right? So at its base, it's a WordPress plugin. And we wanted to make sure that was the core thing. We have a very strong free offering. All of that's still there. We didn't take anything away from the free users or anything like that. And we wanted to make sure that all of that worked exactly as it did, because we had a pretty loyal user base. It was declining, but it was still pretty loyal in that sense, and we wanted to keep that. So.
You mentioned that it had dipped quite a bit in terms of number of paid, I don't know if you call them subscribers or just paid members, and that you needed to rebuild the platform. Was that a decision because you had a plan in place or ideas about how to grow the brand, and you needed to have that new, basically rebuilt ground up? Was it going to be a feature-based promotional effort going forward, or what were the growth plans once you got that new platform built?
Yeah, so being a product guy, obviously that's where a lot of my focus was a lot of the feature-based stuff. But just to clarify, the decline was actually in the free users. We had a lot of free user decline through those years. And so basically it had hit 3 million free users and went back down to 2 million, before we acquired it. So knowing that we had a user base and knowing the market that's out there, we obviously wanted to grow it. So we created a very strong roadmap. We knew that a lot of the other plugins out there had features that we didn't have. They just had grown past us in that sense. And so we, in a lot of ways, we just looked at what are people asking for, and we put in questions for our customers and forms that they could fill out and give us feedback. What are things you're looking for? And at the end of the day, that's a big driving force, but we're also practitioners. We also needed SEO plugins. We also need, things inside of Automotive in our company. And so we could take these are the things that are missing that we need as well. We could build those in. So a couple of the things that we did right out of the box was we added an image SEO add-on, which allowed you to kind of optimize your images. We added a redirection manager, which we did not have at all. We had very basic local SEO stuff, so we expanded on that. We added a big area of local SEO that could allow people to be able to do multiple locations and different things like that, and work with if they had e-commerce or things like that. So those were the immediate things that we built. Even some of those came in 4.0. Feature parity was the big thing, but we decided we want to put some of these in there to really ramp up our offering. And so primarily feature-based, yes. And for the first couple of years, that's where we focused. We really focused on just building a solid product that if somebody were to use and say, I love this, I don't want to move away from this. And we listened to our users. If they said, hey, there's an issue here, I want to do this, we tried to iterate as quickly as we could to just build that loyalty and that communication with them in a way that they could know, hey, I'm being heard, right? Because that's hard. You have millions and millions of people who use a product, and you don't have millions and millions of people to support them. And so, we try our best to have outstanding customer support and be able to iterate as quickly as possible. So yes, at the very beginning, almost 100% was very much feature-based and trying to grow through just building out features for the product that would just kind of bring us back to the level that it should have been from the beginning. And so that's kind of where we started. After that, we began to build on our growth team, is what we call it. So we began we hired a writer. So prior to that, there was a blog that we kind of just migrated over and left. There was some good stuff on the blog, but it wasn't something that we actually were actively writing on. And every once in a while, we'd borrow a writer from Automotive and we'd write an article and put it out there, but it wasn't a primary focus for a while. And that was just because we needed to build the product and build the team as we could. So, but then we got our own writer. We hired our first writer, and that person began to write, and put out content on the blog. And of course that started to help. One thing that I will say through this whole journey, while we have specific things that we did, consistency is really the name of the game, right? Slowly but surely we've built it up to where it is today. It's not something that happened overnight. It's not something that was, moved over, we launched a new product and immediately we had huge growth. There's never any of that in there. It was all just being consistent. We started pumping out articles. We've grown that team now. We're pumping out more articles than we used to. But that growth has been, slow and steady, right? It's not something that's been a skyrocket growth for us, but it's been a good growth. So that became our next kind of avenue. But we continued to build features at the same time. We continued to add things. We started to add some SaaS offerings in the process. Our search statistics feature, broken link checker, things like that we're adding as well that are SaaSified. But at the end of the day, and that's a tenet of what we're doing. We're continuing to build features, but at the end of the day, we also switched gears and began to build out the content side at that same time.
You've touched on it a couple of times. So I just want to ask this question. I think a lot of people listening might get a lot of value out of it, because you have a free version of the plugin, and you have a paid version. And obviously, the paid version is what drives the revenue for the company, but the free version has a lot of features to it that people will find valuable. How did you guys determine what goes into the free version or freemium version versus what goes in the pro version? And then as you're adding all these new features, I wrote a bunch down: the image SEO, redirection, local SEO, et cetera. As you're adding these new features, how do you determine You just load it all into Pro and use that as continual kind of upsell factors that are natural upsell factors. How do you determine where new products end up? I'm just curious to get your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a blessing and a curse, you could say, is when we got the product, it was a very well-rounded free product. Like there's a lot you can do with All-In-One-SEO free. Very early on, it was easy decision. We're not going to take any of those things away, right? So the product, the free product on its own is very solid. We definitely have added to the free version, but that, again, that doesn't drive the revenue like you mentioned, right? The pro side does. So a lot of the things that we build, I always kind of ask myself the question, if we're expanding in an area, like let's take local SEO, for example. Who is the target audience for local SEO, right? It's not everybody. It's people who have brick and mortar businesses, and they want, to be able to be located on Google and stuff. So part of that, that strategy for them and looking at this product is like, okay, this could be something that we could put into our pro version to be able to expand on that niche, those people that have that. But at the same time, look, if somebody's just starting out and they're just trying to get their feet wet, maybe we can add some things. So like we have organization and organizational knowledge graph data that goes into the schema, and that's all free. We put a lot of that stuff for free inside the free plugin. So if you go in there and add it in, Google's going to know you have a business, and they're going to know about that. Now, there might be some things related to your locations or your opening hours or things like that that are very specific that you would have to get the pro version for. But we still said, is there anything here that we could add into our free version, add value to that, continue to grow that and get people excited about it? And then they can come in and they can say, yeah, this is for me. So obviously there are things that I would say are, a lot of the fundamental technical SEO, that's where we're stuffing it into the free version, and we're giving people that value there. But things that kind of take it to the next level and help you level up as your business is growing, as you're starting to make money, that's where we're going to start putting things into our pro version and being able to say, this is something that can go up there. And obviously SaaSified products, as we build those, you can't really give away SaaS products for free. There's resources that we have to pay for and cover. And, one of the things that we've tried to do from day one is when we build our SaaS products, we build them in a way that can scale, but not increase the prices of our plans. It's one of the foundations that we look at as we say, we want to continue to add values to these plans without increasing the prices. Can we do that with this new SaaS offering? Can we do that with this new feature that we're adding? And that's a very much a core part of how we're doing it, because we want people to succeed. I mean, that at the end of the day, that's kind of our mission is for small businesses to succeed and grow and be able to compete with the big guys that are out there. And the guys that have endless money, right? Like we know that our target audience doesn't have endless money. So we want to be able to build tools that will help them without forcing them to continue to shell out tons and tons of money every year.
Hey, just a quick break. I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Just a quick reminder that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Now, I've got a short clip from Ferry with Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
What a crazy campaign. How to sleep on your back. This campaign got us links in Huffington Post, Glamour magazine, Mirror, and lots of other great news publications. Let me show you how we've done it. It was so simple. Our sleep client provided us with expert commentary about how to train yourself to fall asleep on your back. They also gave advice on why it's best to sleep on your back. Once we've had this information, we went to Muckrack and searched for journalists that consistently write about sleep and well-being. We've sent these journalists the advice provided by the client, and within 1 day the links started flowing in. Glamour magazine, a DR81 website, picked it up. Huffington Post, DR88, Mirror UK, DR90. A massive avalanche of links blasted to our client's website with this simple yet effective campaign about how to sleep on your back. I hope this inspires, and I hope you'll use this technique to land massive links to your or your client's website.
Are you looking for similar link building PR campaigns for your website? If so, just go to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them today. What's been the biggest ad that you guys have made from a technical perspective? Like the one that's been the most popular, the most well-received, led to the biggest, growth? I'm just curious, like, you guys have a lot of, like, when you break the plugin down to the individual features, you start to realize how many features there are at this point. And so I'm just curious, like, which one, if there is one or two that have driven the most success, if you could.
Yeah, that's a great question. Something I haven't dug massively into, but I would say that probably the most recent one is our search statistics feature. And this feature specifically, I think because, with SEO, a lot of it's a matter of perspective, right? You can get into Google Search Console and you can look at that and you can say, like, okay, if you're mid-level or higher level, you can move your way around that and really kind of help yourself demystify it. But we figured that there are ways to unlock that even more. And so with our search statistics add-on, what it basically does is it integrates with Google Search Console. You connect it right up through our plugin, and it brings in the data. But it, through some of our algorithms, it shows you, like, hey, this is the content. These are the articles that have started to drop in ranking. We have what we call a content decay feature. Like, go ahead and take a look at this. Like, you should, these have started to drop in ranking. So go ahead and optimize these articles. You click on the article and it will show you. And so I think that was such a leap from where All-In-One-SEO is, which was very fundamental technical SEO, right? And we kind of unlocked a dashboard, so to speak, where users could, like, take a look at this feature and be able to say, wow, I can improve. Here are actionable things that I can use to improve on. And so I don't know about the growth side, but we have seen so much excitement about this feature. A lot of feedback from people saying, this is exactly what I needed. This is what I want. And we've made it as quick and as fast as possible. So it's one of those tools that doesn't take hours and hours to crunch reports. Like, it will analyze the data and get it back to you very, very quickly, even on large sites. So I think that's probably the one that I've seen the most excitement, the most feedback. And it, in turn, gets me excited. And it's like, okay, we did something right here. Let's continue to build on that and make that go to the next level. But other things, like even our redirection manager, like some of that stuff is just, you use like 20 plugins to do all of these SEO things. And we wanted to be able to kind of, bring that all in-house. So All-In-One SEO, that's the name, like, to be able to do a lot of these things within just one plugin and simplify it that way. And so I think that the redirection manager is also pretty well received, and we get a lot of good feedback on that's really helpful. And we have things like full site redirects, which allows you, if you're moving sites, like that's a very small market. That's not going to be a lot of people, but we've seen a lot of excitement about that. Like, hey, I had to move my domain, and that helped me get there quickly. So those are probably the two things. The search statistics is one of our SaaS offerings, but the redirection manager is all built into the plugin. It's just uses word PHP redirects and all of that.
Yep. Okay, cool. Maybe let's talk a bit about content marketing. I mean, I touched on it briefly, but we didn't kind of dive deep into it. I mean, you've been there for 4 years. What are the different, maybe from a high level, or get as deep as you want, like different growth levers you guys have pulled, and which ones have had more success than others? I mean, when we talk about content marketing, obviously there's content on the site. You mentioned blog content, but I mean, even if you want to dive into maybe email marketing or any advertising you guys did, or I'm just curious to learn, because, and if possible, maybe some growth stats. I know you guys have grown. You kind of told us where it was when you guys acquired it, but where are things at now as a result of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So my background, because I just shared it with you, and content marketing was not part of that, right?
Right.
This is one of those things that not just SEO, but even just kind of the full scope of running a business. Like, and this is one of those areas that I had to kind of also dig into and learn. And like, okay, pieces of it here and there throughout my career, but became the point where it was like, I need to dive in and focus and really learn how this stuff works. So we, as far as content marketing goes, we don't do anything crazy. We don't do anything that's abnormal or, I don't even know. There's a lot of things that people do where it's just like, oh, try this approach or try this approach. And I think for me, just kind of my personality, which has helped to lead and grow the brand, is like, there's no way that we're going to be able to measure the success of something unless we do it for a while and be able to see, is this helping us grow? So, you know, we started very small, probably publishing 1 blog post a week when we had 1 writer, maybe 2. And even when we hired another writer and suddenly you could like instantly double it, I said, you know what? Instead of doubling it, let's just add 1 more slot. And then after a little while, we'll add another slot. And then we can measure like how impactful this is. And we can begin to see through the analytics and things like that, like looking at Google Analytics or Search Console, how are these things performing? And we're tracking all of that information. Because obviously that's a key part to it, is being able to put out an article and then tracking how well is it doing, right? Looking in search results and seeing, is it hitting the target keyword? Is it ranking in the results? And so our product goes a long way to helping us to do that, right? So All-In-SEO that's fundamentally what we use. And so one of the key tenets that I have kind of given to my content team is, I want you to use our product because not only because I want it to help us grow, but I want it to help us to be able to fix things that are not working well so that we can help our customers grow. And so we can turn that around and be able to take the lessons learned that way. But as far as content, you know, the content that we're outputting, you know, we're in a lot of ways sticking to our niche. We're SEO experts, and we're looking to demystify SEO for our user base. And so we're really taking that opportunity to explain things to our users, to be able to not only talk about things that our product can help you with on the technical side, but also just like big picture questions about SEO or like, you know, breaking down fundamental things about SEO so that beginners who we assume that's our target audience, a lot of people who are looking at our articles can learn and grow and then be able to apply those things back to their own websites. So that's kind of how, you know, we just take I would say it's a relatively simple approach to that, and just, we're not doing anything crazy or out of the ordinary. We're just consistent. At the end of the day, we're just consistent. I think at this point, what is it, like 4 or 5 articles a week right now, and that's what we're publishing. You know, but we do have an email, you know, marketing channel as well. Whenever we output new features in the product, we'll take an opportunity to kind of to push that. And that might be a little bit of a bigger push, where we'll put out a blog post. We might send out an email to our whole list and be like, hey, here's some new features and everything. But then the idea is to kind of just continue to build content around these features. Like what are the core things that we're doing? And that's going to help us grow. And then at the same time, we can share that with our customers and say, this is what's going to help you grow. Be experts in what you do. And I think that would be the message I would say, is like, I'm learning that. I have learned that myself over these last 4 years, is that I need to be an expert in this in order to be able to succeed in this arena, in this area. And so we don't, again, with email marketing, we don't do anything crazy. You know, we send out maybe a newsletter once a week, and then we'll send out an additional email when we're doing a promotion or we're doing a feature announcement or something. I'm subscribed to so many email lists that I get so many that I'm just like, I know that a lot of people who are in the same area as me are also getting a lot. So I don't want to overwhelm people with too many emails and things like that. But it's another vertical, and social media is another thing. We'll post every blog post we publish. We'll post a link to it on there, and we have a YouTube channel. We'll make videos about a lot of times it's just taking the blog post as a script and saying, like, you know, make a video out of this. And so we'll make a video that really explains that idea, that concept that we're trying to relay to our user base. And then also documentation. You know, because we're a very technical product, we have to have a lot of good documentation. So we'll work on YouTube videos that have to do with that. And that, I mean, at the end of the day, those stuff will rank in algorithms too, and people will be able to find those. And it may not be the most helpful because it's kind of diving into a little section here and being like, this is what we're talking about. But hopefully, you know, we're seeing good feedback on those, and that hopefully is helping users as well. So, it's a very good balance of, I think, of trying to spread it out between all the different verticals that are available to us, and being able to say, like, let's keep it simple. Let's not do anything crazy or especially something that we can't measure quickly. You know, I just don't, in our game, there's just not a lot you can measure quickly. It just stuff takes time to build. And that's what I found, at least. And so a lot of time, the way I look at it is slow and steady wins the race, right? Like we're going to continue to do the things that are working. And if something's not working, that's where we can take a closer look at that and say, okay, we've been trying this for 3-4 months and it's not working the way we thought it should. Let's revisit that and try something new. So, I hope that's helpful. That answers the question. I think that's kind of the way that I look at it. And we've got a great team that's really, really good at that. Another tenet I will just add to what I tell my growth team and my content team is you need to be SEO experts as well. You need to really dive into the fundamentals of SEO because you're writing about it. And so it needs to be something that really resonates with you, that it's just right there. It's second nature to you to write about these SEO things. And we've hired people that had that background already, had a lot of good SEO experience, and that was intentional for that reason. So
if I could dovetail a bit and kind of springboard off some of the things you talked about, I'm just really curious. And I think people have an interest in SaaS products or in creating products will be interested in this, but I think it expands beyond that to really anybody that could be listening and running some sort of online business. Like where do you find conversion typically happens? And I'm just curious about what sorts of conversion metrics you guys are paying attention to when you have a freemium product. I imagine like that adds a whole nother layer of complexity because you obviously are looking in some capacity at which marketing channels or efforts are creating the most for you, but also it's got to be segmented because some are going to maybe create a lot of free users, which are great because it gets them embedded in the product, but also trying to figure out which ones end up with kind of premium or pro members and subscribers. So I would love to hear any thoughts you have on how you guys look at conversions, and out of all those efforts, if there's kind of a funnel that you have in place or just a certain thing that creates more of the customer conversion, anything that you can add to that.
The main thing, and it's not really a specific place or a mathematical equation or anything like that. It's really just showing the value of what we offer in our pro offerings. And like, these are the things that you can help you, right? So, we have a very solid free product that a lot of people are content with, right? Like at the end of the day, if we didn't have pro users, we couldn't continue to make our free product. But it is one of those where we don't want to take away those features, but we want to be able to share value. And so in a lot of the content that we write, a lot of the newsletters that we send, a lot of the, even in certain areas in the plugin, like, for example, the local SEO, you have some fundamental local SEO stuff that's in the free version, but then we'll say, hey, we do have more. And there's a spot there, right? Like an upsell of some kind where you can say, hey, we have more. And you click on it and we'll show you, this is what else you can add with our pro version. So I think that, the main thing that I found in this is that you have to really surface the value, and that's you can do whatever tactics or anything you want, but again, keeping it simple. If somebody buys my product because of a gimmick, they're not going to stay, and that's not a good conversion for me, right? Like that's not somebody that's going to be a long-term user of my product. So what I want is to be able to surface the value and to be able to show them, these are the things that we can help you with in our pro version. And so when that conversion happens, hopefully that person stays for the long haul and is there for a while. So we, obviously there, we do all of the normal, if you will, when we're looking at conversions and things like that, we do all the normal stuff where we have UTM parameters and we track those things in Google Analytics, and we can see, is this converting well or is that converting well? That could be in your email, the link that's in your email, does that convert to a sale? Or the blog post, right? Like we have some links in there that say, hey, if you want to get this, get All-In SEO Pro, and we click on it, did that convert well? So we follow a lot of those metrics. The truth is, like, personally, I haven't looked at these numbers in the last couple of weeks, so I can't tell you what's winning out. But I do know that things have been growing and going well. Like at the end of the day, I think this, because of let me pause there for 1 second and just say All-In-SEO.com is a very new brand, right? Like 4 years, 3.5 years really. And so it's not something that, yes, it had an older brand, like a different domain and everything. But when, there's obviously, we knew that changing domains, you're going to lose traffic. You're going to lose customers through that process. And so a lot of the things that I've been talking about with the blog content, with the newsletters, with the, pushing out new features into the product, a lot of those things they're just compounding, and they're growing through compounding. And I want to say that at the end of the day, like the conversions that we're getting are because we have hopefully done a good job of showing the value of what it is that we're offering in our pro version. And so that's where we're seeing those conversions happening, is people saying, hey, I want to be able to see that data, search statistics. I want to be able to see that data in this new way for my own website. Like, here's the examples that All-In-One-SEO is showing. This is what it looks like. Wow, I can be able to target these things a little bit better. I need to be able to get that pro version in order to do that. And so we're seeing the conversions there for that. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Hey, so we have a spot on our talking points to talk through some case studies, through some SEO case studies. I'd be remiss if we didn't get to that, and so I want to make some time for that and turn it over to you. I mean, like, talk to us about some case studies from your vantage point.
Yeah. So this is a fairly new initiative. We've been doing this about, I want to say, like 6 months now, I believe, somewhere in that area. And this was an area where we were trying to figure out, we're talking about growth verticals and what are things that we can do to continue to add value to our customers. And being that, the position that we're in, we can look at a website that is ranking. There are so many tools out there. You can SEMrush and all these things where you can like put in a domain and see what it's doing in Google and all of that. And so we figured that our target audience maybe doesn't even have access to SEMrush, number one. Number two, they may not know how to use it to be able to get that information out of it. And so big picture, we just decided, you know what? Let's start finding these trending websites that are just starting to increase in traffic pretty quickly, and we can dig into them and we can unlock the mysteries of how they got to where they are. So, our goal is to kind of try to hit different industries and niches and different things like that, where we can, so that there's people can identify with, oh, this site is in my vertical, right? This is something that I can do. What did they do to do that? And so we're just using, a lot of the ways that we're writing these case studies is we're just using kind of the available information that we can get in some of these higher end tools to be able to track, their traffic and monthly visits, or, backlinks, and, what is it that got them to where they were? Was it programmatic SEO? Was it a huge, giant, just potentially spammy backlink list? There's all these different things. And so we're kind of, in a way, like this, if we take a site, I'll just do our latest one, for example, Sashin and Bobby, right? Like they went from 26.3 thousand to 220,000 monthly visits. Like what happened, right? How did they go from that 737% year-over-year growth? And so we can take a look at that. We can dive down into what it was that they did. And, we can see, like, we try to surface all this information. How old is this domain? Kind of a little bit about them and who they are and what they're doing. And then we kind of look at their growth and we say, what was it that they did? Did they target low competition keywords, which is one of the things that they did here? And how did they go about doing that? Was that programmatic SEO? Was that, pumping out 1,000 articles in a 2-week period or whatever? Because just people are trying like all of these different SEO methods in order to try to grow and rank. And so we're kind of unlocking that so that somebody can kind of read the case study and say, okay, is this something that I want to try? Or is this something I should avoid doing? Because potentially there could be issues with Google, especially with all of the different helpful content updates and different things that have been happening recently. You got to be careful about these kind of things. So we're taking a very middleman approach of being able to say, hey, this is what they're doing. These are the good things they're doing. Maybe these are some things you should avoid doing. And then being able to tie that into our product as well, and be able to say, this is how we can help you achieve that at the end of the day. And that's one of the reasons that we're doing this as well, so that we can add that value to our product as well.
I think if I could start to bring us to a close, I wanted to maybe ask a very high level question, but what's the biggest thing that you guys did since you jumped in with All-In-One SEO that's led to its continued success, growth, etc.? Like, whether it's from a technical standpoint, from a product standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, like what do you, if you had to, and I know it's a bit of an overreaching question, right? Very broad, and obviously it's just for the sake of talking about it. But I mean, it's interesting to think about it. Like, you've talked about a lot of stuff from the first part of the podcast, all the technical updates. You talked about product market fit. You talked about different products you guys launched inside of it. We've talked about the marketing side of things and content marketing, email marketing, etc., conversions. Like, we've talked about a lot of different things. If we could kind of bring it back, is there maybe one thing that stands out as the most influential thing that's helped you guys grow over the last few years?
That's an excellent question, and there is an answer. But before I give you that answer, I want to say that it's really hard to know that it is the one and only thing, because at the end of the day, we did so many things, right? Like all of the content, all of the things that we're doing in the growth side of it, and in the product side, they all work together. And I think we've done a pretty good job of being able to kind of drive, one thing drives the other all the way up. And if we didn't add to our content side, where would we be today? If we didn't build new features, where would we be today? So there's obviously a caveat to my answer, and that's how I'll put it. But I might be biased, but as a product guy, I do believe that just kind of listening to our customers and building features that they want and that they're using, and seeing the feedback from them has really propelled us to the new height. The day that we hit, went from the 2 million plus to 3 million plus was an awesome day. And and I think that happened before a lot of our content and growth initiatives came into play. And it really propelled us in that sense. And that's just a testament to all of that hard work we put in to just rewrite and revamp the product. And yeah, we had issues at the beginning, but once we began to build on that foundation, that solid foundation of a good product, the rest of it is a lot easier, right? Like the content stuff, it's easy to write about something when you have a good foundation. It's easy to be able to write articles and be able to say, hey, what about this? What about that? If we didn't have a lot of the things we didn't build those features, I think it would be, you might be grasping at straws a little bit, right? Like, Google really wants to make sure that you're an expert, that you have the expertise, that you have the authority. And part of that we can kind of prove those tenets is that we have this product. We're talking a lot about what we're doing and the foundation that's there. So, so we still have a great solid roadmap coming forward. Like, we're still continuing to build out features, and that's going to be a foundation of where we are for the long term, right? Like, that's what we're going to do. But we know that we can't just build a great product. You have to tell people about it. You got to market it. You got to be able to put the word out there and say, hey, this is something that we have built. So I would say that obviously the feature set, just bringing it feature parity to the other offerings in the market, building the SaaS services, continuing to listen to our customers and adding things that they're asking for as quickly as we can. I think that's probably the number one thing.
Tough question. I get it.
Yeah.
If I were in your shoes, I'd say, well, it's a combination of all the things we've done, but tough question. But still fun to hear the way it's less about the answer, more about the way that you answer it, right? It's like, it's interesting to hear from someone kind of in the driver's seat. Hey, Ben, thank you so much for coming on board. Where can people follow along with yourself and with what All-In-One SEO has?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously our website, AIOSEO.com, is the best place to kind of see what our product is and our offerings that we have. We're on I'm on Twitter as well. It's at Benjamin P. Rojas. I guess it's X now, right? Like it's hard to get used to any name. And that's probably the best thing. Obviously, you know, if you wanted to reach out and contact me, you can, you know, get on the contact form on our website as well. But yeah, I'd love to hear from anybody who's listening. If you guys have questions or follow-up, but definitely love to stay in touch.
Well, Ben, thanks for coming on the podcast. Appreciate it. Until we talk again next time. See ya.
All right. Thank you, Jared.
Thanks for joining us today on the podcast. Just a final reminder that it was brought to you by Search Intelligence. And if you're looking for link building PR campaigns for your website, just head over to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them today. Cheers.